Hey, what's happening everyone? I'm SirJames coming at you guys with another video, and today I'm here to give you guys my review on the Shadowblade version 1.0 from the pack store. This is something that I did an unboxing for last week, and I was left with mixed feelings. And now that I've had hands-on, and I've actually went through the process of repainting not only the hilt, but improving the look on the blade, I figure it's about time to be able to share with you guys what do I think overall. So let's go ahead and start with the price point. The standard option, which is what I got with the white flash on clash, goes for $240 plus shipping. So I think the total, if I remember correctly, it was like $280, $290 something. A little bit expensive on the shipping portion, but you know, unfortunately is what it is. There is an option for a heavy dueling blade option, which will increase the price from $240 to $270, so do keep that in mind. Now, when you receive the hilt, you get your pretty much basic, I mean, the packaging, as far as that goes, is really good, and shipping, if it's available, is actually pretty fast. I've never had any issues as far as the pack store goes. But in terms of how it looks and how it functions out of the box, I did notice that the hilt was pretty much a plain color scheme. It didn't have the color scheme that I have now since I repainted it. And as far as the blade goes, even though the blade looked nice, I felt like there was way too much lighting and it didn't really have the Darksaber look that I was expecting from the product, and a few other issues that I tend to notice. So let me go ahead and give you guys a closer look in terms of how my hilt looks now compared to how it was when I originally got it. So as you can see, we have a much more proper looking Darksaber. Now, as far as the hilt goes, is this going to be considered 100% accurate as far as the show goes? And the answer is no. This is not going to be 100% accuracy as far as how the Darksaber looks. But when you look at this product, you think to yourself, hey, that kind of looks like the Darksaber, then it's serving that initial purpose. There is someone from the Saber community that is making an exact replica in terms of how it appears in the show, including a blade to go along with it, and I think both combinations come out to around $600 something if I'm not mistaken, but I'll have to try to find that information when I get the chance. But for the price this one is, it's really hard to justify, especially with some of its issues, and again, for how it looks out of the packaging. I just felt like this in general is more money than what it should be. I feel like if this was around $180 to $200 max, I feel like that would be a much more of a better price point than what it's at right now, which is kind of hard to justifying it. So I guess we'll go ahead and kind of go from here in terms of starting off with a couple of your guys' feedback that you've mentioned in the unboxing. Starting off with the actual size of the hilt. A few of you have stated that the hilt looks way too big. In reality of things, when I was actually looking up the Darksaber from the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, based on how it appears in the character's hands in terms of the sizing, their placement, it pretty much seems to be accurate as far as that goes. So as far as the hilt sizing goes, in terms of its initial length and width, seems to be quite perfect and matching for what the show is. It's just, again, the overall appearance of the Darksaber is not going to be accurate as far as that goes. Another thing to mention is that a lot of you were stating that I was not putting in the blade correctly, that I was facing the wrong way. A lot of you are assuming the blade needs to go like this, when in reality that is actually completely wrong. If you actually look up images of the Darksaber from the show, what you would assume to be the correct facing way, this actually goes over here facing the complete opposite, because the characters hold it like this, where this is up towards them and then the main edge portion is down below. So it's the complete opposite as you would expect it to fit in here. So in terms of how I had the blade in to begin with, it was correct, and now you guys know that little small mistake. Now, as far as the Darksaber goes, again, it feels good as far as the quality of the hilt goes. I did notice that there is a rattling sound, and it's not the screw here because this is tight. The rattling sound apparently is very common in all of these because apparently that's the gyro system for your movement, which it's not going to be like smooth swing or anything like that. The electronics are very basic, but what's nice about it is that it makes for a good flashlight. So let me go ahead and actually demonstrate that. So if you turn this on here, Audio wise, it's actually nice and loud, and for capturing motion, again, it's very basic, it's nothing too crazy, but this thing, that makes for a very good flashlight, that's for sure. There's also there's a locking feature for its clashing, as sometimes you accidentally activate that. Now there is a couple issues because this is not a perfect item, as I mentioned. For one, actually, since we're going to have to turn this off anyways, if we turn this on, over here on the center portion, there's actually light bleeding on the hilts. As you guys can see right here, there's that light bleeding. Same thing on the other side, a little bit worse over here. So definitely not cool. Do it again. Okay. And also too, I've been having some little issues with the activation. Sometimes it's not turning off properly as it should, so that might be a little faulty here. But as far as that light bleeding goes, that seems to be a common issue with a lot of hilts based on the feedback from what I've seen and heard from people in the community. Another thing I also wanted to point out is in terms of how the blade attaches, because there is a little bit of a flaw that I feel like could have been fixed if they were to include 2 additional retention screws. So first off, one of the things that I really like, let me make sure it's facing the right way, is that on this top piece here, if you remove this, there's 2 hidden retention screws, and I really like that, so it's a really nice touch there. On the other side, unfortunately, there is no other retention screws, but there's also one here in the center, and the other one, once you put the plate back on, you will put in the screw that pretty much is in my hand right now, this little silver one here. Basically what this one does and the center one is that it helps push the blade to try to hold it in the center, while the side one kind of isn't, basically in a way to kind of prevent it from shifting over to the sides. But the problem is because you don't have any retention screws on the other side, the blade can easily shift over to the one side. Or if you're tightening basically all the way, what's going to happen, instead of the blade staying flush right in the center, it's going to cause the blade to shift over to the other side of the lightsaber. And no matter how you look at it, there's a lot of exposed light that tends to shine through even once the blade is inserted. Now, I will mention that as far as the light goes, it does a good job lighting the blade, but the problem is that it does too well of a job, to the point where the blade by default, when I received it out of the box, which I'll try to throw in a clip here, just way too much light. It wasn't exactly like I would expected or imagine a Darksaber blade to be, so I ended up fixing that problem too. So if we bring my blade over here, you'll notice that my blade seems to be a bit different than the way I got it. You may recall that this was a lot more clear and there was etchings and markings that went all the way up the blade. Mine, however, no longer has that. Instead, you have the clear exposed edges here, but I painted this middle portion on the entire blade on both sides. And what happens is that now when you insert the blade, which I'll do in just a bit, is that you're going to get a much more of a proper looking Darksaber blade, which I have improved that, and I'm really happy with the results for that. So if you do end up having one of these, it'll be worth doing that little customization there. It's a very simple thing to do. Just again, tape the outline and do a few layers of paint. Now what's actually cool about this, even though it's painted, is that I didn't do any special markings like it is in the show. I know in Clone Wars is a little bit different, and Rebels is a bit different. I have no idea how it's going to look in The Mandalorian Season 2, but I would like to hopefully see some more images before I even add those markings. But you could scrape off the paint and do your own custom etching here and have a really cool light up effect if you wanted to do that. But again, I was going for a more of a proper looking Darksaber blade than how I got it. And like I said, when this lights up, you guys will pretty much probably enjoy that as well. So before we actually insert this, I do want to go ahead and kind of make this comment really quick, is that yes, I am fully aware that the pack store does have a version 2.0 of their Shadowblade. And I will say that for the asking price of that, definitely a lot better compared to the asking price of this, because not only is it already painted in a proper color scheme, but again, it's also a lot cheaper, because the version 2.0 for an empty is $100. For an install for basic electronics as well is $150. Now, some of the main differences between this one and version 2.0, instead of the flat edges here, it has rounded edges, so it's going to give you a little bit more of a comfortable feel to it in your hands. And it has a little bit more accuracy as far as the show goes, or specifically towards the top section. Because as you can see, this top area is completely flat, but on the 2.0, it's actually in a much more of a proper shape as it is, at least based on how it appears to be in Clone Wars. So that's definitely a nicer touch. And if you were to consider getting the version 2.0, there is a blade that you can get from another company called Kyberlite. Like this one here, for example, this is the unstable blade that they have. It's a black tube with these etchings here. And if you were to shine a light to it, especially a white light, kind of has a Darksaber feel to it. So that's a really nice alternate option if you guys wanted my opinion for that. So let me go ahead and insert the blade, because this kind of takes me a few minutes to do so, and I don't want to bore you guys with that process. And then I'll show you guys some of the issues that I was pointing at previously. Alright, so to demonstrate the improved look of the Darksaber blade, let's go ahead and rewind back to the original video in terms of how it looked. As you can see, the blade looked alright, but it could use some improvements. And now here is the improved Darksaber blade with just a simple paint job. As you can see with that, that looks much more proper to the show. Accurate all the way around. And I really liked how this turned out. All I did was just repaint the center portion, left the edges just fine, and it's a hell of a lot better. And as you can see, we have that light there that I told you about, that light bleeding. You can see it a lot better here in the dark. This does have white flash on clash, but it's really hard. There you go. But yeah, that's basically how it looks, so let me know what you guys think down below. Alright, so as you've seen by now, not only did I improve the look of the hilt based on how I originally received the product, but I made the blade 100% better than the way it came. And I'm like pretty much happy with how it looks now, though I'm kind of disappointed that this isn't exactly what we got out of the packaging. Now in the end, what do I think about this altogether? For its current price tag, I can't really recommend it at its current state, especially for, again, what you get, the issues and some of the defects and stuff like that. That's pretty common in most of the shadow blades that they sell, especially for that price tag. I mean, if this was maybe $180, $200, and you feel like putting in that extra work to improving the actual look and quality of it, then probably for sure it'd be worth it for that price. But in its current state, not so much. But again, this is just my own personal opinion. Whether you agree or disagree, that's perfectly fine. We're all able to share our thoughts on that. But yeah, like I said, in terms of how I originally received it out of the packaging, I was disappointed. Based on some of the modifications, specifically just an updated paint job, I'm really happy with how it looks now. But again, some of those issues are still presented in here, which hopefully I could figure out how to solve, which again, I'm probably going to get some putty, put that in there to fix the light bleeding issue, and then maybe adding a couple more retention screws so I could improve that. But other than that, like I said, it's not bad of a product. It just has some flaws, and it's a bit high for what it is in terms of pricing. But again, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video upload.